Hi, welcome back to Dr. Introspect TV, and it's your host, Dr. Introspect, and I'm back. Well, that's the intro. Well, I didn't go anywhere, I've been here, but I have been bringing to you some podcast style videos. Let me know what you think about those videos in the comments. I'd like your opinions, of course. Our regular scheduled video style is not going anywhere. I'm still going to be bringing it to you in between, but just to give you guys a different taste of the different things Dr. Introspect can bring to you. And of course, how have you been? How are you doing? How have you been prospering, growing, enriching? I really want to know how well you're doing and, reach out, say something. And of course, if you haven't subscribed, I know I'm saying this a lot early in the video. Please subscribe. It keeps me motivated. It keeps me inspired to keep on doing this. And thank you. Of course, I have to say, coming here on camera, even though I've missed you guys, was a little bit challenging because of the times and the things that are going on. As you know, a lot of countries in Africa are struggling with bad leadership and they're fighting this oppression. If you want to stay inspired in this fight, please watch my video on 3% with the pedagogy of the oppressed. This can help you stay inspired as you continue to fight this battle. And more power to you guys. It has really been hard, especially in Nigeria. There was a mass killing and people were killed, unarmed protesters were killed, and it's just, my heart is with you guys, right? So with that being said, I decided to bring something along the theme and along the lines of what's going on, and I feel like it is pertinent to the conversation at the moment. So I'm going to be doing an analysis on the 100. How do you shrink the events of 7 seasons into one video? Stay tuned. Okay, so we're back, and I'm talking about the 100 series. It's actually a TV show that has been airing for a couple of years now, and just a backstory on what it's all about. So, apparently, a couple of years into the future, the Earth is inhabitable, and they have to leave and go into space. So there was like this war and explosions, and a lot of missiles went off at the same time, and the world was just radioactive, and people had to leave in space, and they needed to stay in space for like 100 years for the earth grounds to like heal and for it to become habitable again. But something happened with all the rations and everything they had up there. They had to land sooner, so they sent down 100 teenagers basically to come down and just survey the area, and if they survive, then it's okay for everyone to come down. So that's basically what this whole 100 is all about. When it started off, it was like a teenage type stuff. A lot of teenage stuff was really going in vogue. We had like Vampire Diaries. We've had like other teen, adolescent type shows. So it really fit into the spectrum at that time. And the adults are basically like, they can be done away with. So you see an adult and you might not see him the next season because they could just die off and that's it. So a lot of the characters that started off in season 1, even season 3, they were gone. So that's basically it. So the summary of season 1 to season 7, stay with me here because it's gonna be a little bit confusing, but this is by no means like, if you want to watch this show, in fact I recommend you watch it if you do, and tie in some of the things I'm saying here. So by all means, watch this and make your own conclusions as you go on along. So they come down on Earth, right? And they're trying to survive, and the Earth is like a lot of dangerous creatures and whatnot. But then they find that there are a group of other humans down here as well that apparently survived the radiation, and they have evolved strategies of survival also. Per usual, civilization has digressed. I don't know why that always happens. In 3% as well, we saw that happening as well, at least for those that were living in the 97 side on the inlands. Whenever there's like an explosion or some kind of end of the world zombie whatever, I don't know why civilization tends to regress. Seeing as I haven't experienced it in the real world, I guess theoretically that's what they think will happen, but that's what happens. So they can't even speak English or any language that we're familiar with. They have their own tongue that they speak, and it just sounds weird. And so yeah, they start speaking that, and per usual, there's now war for resources, war for land and things like that. So that's what basically goes on from like season 1 to like season 3. And those people on the ground, they call them grounders, and they that came from the sky. I think they call them the sky crew. So grounders and sky crew have beef, whatever, they're fighting, and then they go from fighting for resources to they end up going and living underground, right? Because the radiation is back, and they go to live, they find a bunker and they fight for the bunker, and they live underground, and they go from living underground to more fighting and destroying the world. So they now have to go to space, and then they go to space, and while some of them are in space, others are in the bunker, and I think they come back from space when they see there's vegetation on Earth again, and then they come back to Earth, and then some other people that have been somewhere else in space come to Earth as well, and they fight with them for land and resources all over again. They destroy it all over again, and they're back in space, and then they find a new world, a different planet completely. So when the Earth was becoming inhabitable and there was all these studies when things were still normal, they found some planets that have life that they can move to. So they found those kind of planets, and they went there, and they just wanted to settle, but per usual, they found some kind of weird stuff going on. So this was basically by season 6. A lot of weird things were going on, like reincarnation. Those human beings that were the founders of that place, the scientists and their family that originally went there, they found a way to put their consciousness into memory chips, memory drives, and they essentially just keep putting it into people's bodies, and that way they can live forever. But then these people think they are ascending into some type of stuff. They feel it's like a religion, and they think those people are their gods, and it's going on forever. So Clark and her crew, they're there, and again, they just want a place to live. But as usual, when you're outsiders, it turns into an us versus them type of thing. And from there, they are now fighting. Now they're going through interportal dimensions through some kind of stone that can time travel, and in the end, you have to do like this battle where you go and you face like this sentient being, and you answer some questions, and then they decide whether your race gets to join them or be eradicated. I know. Did you get confused? I honestly think that if not that I have been following this for a while, if someone told me this whole stuff, I'd be lost. And even as I was seeing the final season, season 7, I was like, what are these writers smoking? Like, what are they smoking? The story has gone all over the place, in portal dimensions. Now we have time travel. Now we have Earth. Now they can go from one Earth to another just with like some stones. And what is going on? And honestly, I haven't really had the strength to go back and start from season 1 to season 7 to see if they actually filled all the loopholes and crossed all the dots and T's and everything, and have like a cohesive story where everything makes sense in the end. I haven't done that much due diligence, so if you have some pointers on that, please leave that in the comment below. But what I could see definitely in the 100 theme is this whole fighting for survival. It's something that is common, it is something that we identify with, it's something that you see when it's happening when you're fighting for resources. It's something that even happens today. I feel like it's even part of the reasons why some wars have happened. Even you're watching the 100 and you're wondering, like, why can't they just come together? You know, from season 1, it's like, I'm doing this for my people, I'm doing this for my people, I'm doing, why can't they all just come together and make a decision and just like, you know, people are trying to survive, and when things come down to survival, people make all kinds of decisions, you know. It's almost as if survival makes people lose their humanity. It's something that I'm seeing that's happening here, and it's quite sad, really, because it's really happening today in our world, and that's definitely a lesson we can learn from there. And you're watching it and you're thinking, sometimes I take a step back and I'm like, would I have done something differently if I was in this situation? Would I make this exact choices? You know, that's something for you to like really take a step back and reflect on before you make and pass judgments on the characters. Would you really make different choices under those circumstances? Something else I can see going on in the whole show as a theme as a whole is the concept of ethics. So, with ethics, there are different ethical principles, you know, rights theory, deontology, utilitarianism. That's such a hard word to say. But whatever theory you think about, you can pick one of them and you can use and analyze the different ethical dilemmas that you find people like Clark and Bellamy having to make. And I feel like that's really a strong core piece of the story, because by the time you get to season 7, Clark has made so many decisions for the group that a lot of people look at her as like a really bad person. A really bad, really selfish, you've murdered people, you've allowed people to die, all this kind of stuff. And it depends, like what principles is Clark working on? Is she thinking maximum good for all type decision? Even with Blood Arena, you know, when she made the choice that they should eat their fellow people just so that they can survive under the bunker, and that is just so horrible and so disgusting. And you're thinking about it, and she had to live with that scar on her conscience, and it was a lot, you know. It was driving her mad. She was really hating herself. Again, she could argue that she was trying to save her people. She made some choices. So before you come to any conclusions, obviously I'm not saying anything was wrong or right, I'm just saying, depending on the lens that you're using to look at the different situations, you can realize that there's really situations of ethical dilemmas here, and they're not so easy. You can also see the burden of a leader. A lot of people want to be a leader. A lot of people want to be leaders, you know, and the power, the authority, the respect, all of those things that come with it. No matter the unit, like even if it's just like a small company or even like maybe the institution of marriage, like being a leader is no joke. That's the next thing I want to make note of. It's not easy to be a leader. Being a leader comes with responsibilities. There are people that are okay without being leaders. They don't want to be leaders because they don't want to have to shoulder that responsibility. They are okay with someone else calling the shots, because if things go wrong, like things go left, then that person bears the responsibility of those choices. And then we can all just say, oh yeah, our president is an idiot, he made horrible decisions. He chose to do those things, he chose to enact those policies. You can blame that type of stuff. So people are not okay with responsibility, they're okay with not being leaders because they don't want to carry that burden. So that's something to see here, because all through the seasons, the choices that the likes of Bellamy, Clark, even Clark's mother, the choices that they have had to make in leadership positions is something you really need to think about, because being a leader means responsibility and having to make tough choices. You're gonna have to be the one to pull the trigger that everybody's afraid to pull, and then live with the consequences of doing that, even if you did it for your own people. Even if you made up a kind of rule that Blood Arena did, so that they would be eating each other, basically like carnivores, and so they could survive. And then if you become an offender, then you be eaten. And then you break a code, you break a law, you go to the ring, you fight. If you don't survive, then your body becomes food for everyone. You making that kind of decision is tough, so that's something else to really bear in mind. Something else I also saw, it kind of goes in line with the theme of survival, is the whole concept of like disunity and differences. And this has been apparent the entire show, but I'm happy they brought it back full circle in season 7, where humanity's lesson was supposed to be to learn that we are all the same. So in season 7, when they all wanted to fight and Blood Arena was trying to stop them, I don't know why I keep calling her that. It just comes to my mind. You can see her photo here. Yeah, I keep calling her Blood Arena. I just feel like I like the effect of saying her name. So she is trying to stop them from fighting, and that was essentially the final test, which is kind of interesting, because that man, that narcissistic man that they were worshiping, that felt that he was going to be the one to take them to fight this battle. Of course, that was his own interpretation. He wanted a battle, that's more grandiose. Like, oh yeah, I led them into battle and I won. So grandiose, which is so typical for someone of his type of traits. So it's not surprising that that was his interpretation. And also, he didn't want to listen to anybody else's suggestions. Even when his daughter was saying like, there are people out there, whatever, he was just so focused on using the stone, moving on to the next phase and whatever. Like, you would think that it's about him really taking humanity to this next stage and next level, but it was more so about him and his grandiosity. The humans and everybody else had come up with the slogan of for all mankind and whatever, they were all just pawns in his agenda for him to fulfill his own thing. He is an example of a horrible leader, by the way, someone not to ascribe by or look up to or anything. But essentially, that final test that Clark failed was critical for human beings to learn that, look, fighting each other is not the way. And I feel it's so relevant in our time, and it has always been relevant. I feel like it's a message that will never lose its relevancy, because from time immemorial, people have been fighting on either religious grounds, racial grounds, tribal grounds, political grounds, like different political affiliations, different ideologies, just all kinds of different factions that we use to divide ourselves. And right now, especially right now with what's going on, we need to remember now more than ever that we are the same people. We are all human, and that's the most important thing. We are stronger together and not divided. I don't know how else to say this message, because I feel like Michael Jackson said it in many of his lyrics. Like, I don't know how else to say it, but it's definitely a theme here. And I'm really hoping that from that ending in season 7, all of us can take away a lesson from that and realize that, like, by fighting other people, we are hurting ourselves, essentially. You know, we should be fighting hunger, we should be fighting poverty, we should be fighting. Those are the things that hold us back, that we should be fighting, not one another. Okay, especially based on things like I said before, the race, the social class, the tribe, the religion, all those type of things, you know, my people, your people, you know, even the whole concept of one crew. All of us are one people, you know, in the show, when Blood Arena says we are one crew, it's no more tree crew, it's no more scribe crew, it's not this, it's not this. We are one, you know. But even then, when trouble happens, that's something else I noticed. Everybody is okay with saying we're one when things are great. But the moment things start happening, you know, all of a sudden there's a shortage, there's a famine, there's this, there's that. All of a sudden, we're not one anymore. All of a sudden, I want to survive. And my survival is more important than anybody else's survival. So we start like, okay, then we start remembering that, you know what, I'm not just a human being, I'm actually black, and I only care about my black people. You know, I'm just putting that in everyday terms. But in the show, it's like, oh no, I'm not just one crew. I am actually tree crew, and I just care about tree crew people. And you can see all the situations that either made or broke it made or broke them. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. So I don't have a lot to say on this show. I don't really have a lot to say. I just wanted to come here and bring a message that I feel is reflective on the ongoing times. I could not just ignore it. I couldn't pretend like this is not going on. It is going on. And with the oppression and everything, and the fights that are happening and all the bloodshed, I just felt that now more than ever we needed to remember that we are all people, and we are all the same, and it's our togetherness that keeps us strong, and that's what will keep us fighting. I don't typically comment on the cinematography of the show. I know a lot of people felt some type of way about Bellamy dying, and like they said, he wasn't who he was anymore. I don't know, how do you feel about it? A lot of people felt bad that Clark shot him, and he didn't get to make it to join the lights and stuff. If you want me to make a separate video commenting on the human dynamic aspects deeply on this, all you have to do is leave me a comment. I am always in there. I am looking towards hearing from you guys. So please, if you do like this video, like it, right? Don't just watch it for me and come and tell me privately I watched your video. Come on, like the video, comment, share this video, like help me help you. Help me help you, so I can keep coming back and keep doing this. And as you know, I'm trying to create a community here. Community, yes, it's my face, but community means you guys are involved as well. How do you stay involved? By those things I just said, you know, staying engaged. And of course, click the notification bell so that you can get notified when I post videos, okay? And that's all I have for you. So I hope that you guys stay inspired, motivated, prosperous, just inspired to just keep on growing. And it's been hard, but I hope you stay strong. I have some other podcast style videos that I hope will keep you guys in good spirits going forward. And until next time, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.